Welcome back. It is episode number 2 of the, well, just call it what it is, the Untitled JR and Kevin podcast, where we talk all things nerdy. I'm Kevin Pillow at Voice of Reason 23 on pretty much all social media platforms. And we're probably going to be referencing that a lot to send you just some of the information we're going to share today. He is, I got it right last week. I don't know if I'm going to get it right this week. He is JR of the JR and Kevin podcast. I have no idea how to pronounce your last name right now.
Good.
Yeah, that's right. We were talking about working on stage names because I'm so bad with names, especially when they're as unique as my Filipino friend is. So
yeah, we'll work on it eventually.
But hey, I want to say thank you to everyone for the positive feedback we got from last week's podcast. Thank you for being patient with getting it up. We had to do some editing and trim it down for time, and we got it down to a minuscule minute or 1 hour and 42 minutes. You guys, everyone seems to be enjoying it, but we're gonna kind of have Jared and I were talking about this. We're gonna have kind of like a format where we'll talk about the same thing, but we're gonna do it like every other week. Mm-hmm. I think we're gonna do like a bonus style show every in between, where we talk about specific topics involved in geek culture and pop culture and whatnot. And I think that to tie in with our audience, our core audience that we're shooting for, is the collectors. You know, I was talking to Chick and this past week, and she's totally on board with helping us out with this podcast. Is we want to do what helps out retailers like her and Sid and Interstellar and stuff like that, and kind of tell you, well, the art of collecting. And I guess I'll kind of start things off again. Oh, first off, social media at also JR. What is it?
Is it also at also not JR Comics 42?
That's it.
Yeah, so weird name. I'll get another.
And they'll be down here when the show goes live on YouTube and stuff like that. But I guess I'll kind of get us kickstarted. We were just talking about this off air. Was I started getting into comics with Superman, the Death of Superman, and stuff like that, and didn't think about collecting maybe a little bit, because a lot of people, when Death of came out, they were like grabbing comics by the handful, and that's one of the reasons why books like Superman 75 and the Death of trade paperback went into multiple printings. I mean, I have a fifth, I think like I said, it was a 5th printing of the trade paperback of the Death of Superman, which is a collection of about 12 books combined into one. And when I was talking with Javel, who's the husband of the store owner for Asylum, he was telling me, he's like, oh, dude, he's like, oh yeah, the trades would just fly off the shelves, and you couldn't keep them in stock. And same thing when I got when Dan Jurgens signed the book for me at San Diego Comic-Con, he was like, oh, what print do you have? And I said, well, it's a 5th print. And he goes, can you believe that it went to that many prints? And I was like, I can't, because the you and I of 1992 was like, oh, dude, Death of? Oh, I'm going to sell this when I'm an adult. I'm going to sell it for like thousands of dollars. This is going to be the next Amazing Spider-Man 300. This is going to be the next
there's going to be SM1, all that stuff,
And by the way, there's a great video that JR and I have seen on the story of the quote, the Image Boys, I think it was.
Yeah.
And Jim Lee talks about that. He talks about how X-Men #1 was the highest selling comic book of all time, selling over like 10 million copies, because people were like, oh, it's a #1, it's X-Men. And with the cartoon and everything going around, people were like, oh, it's going to sell like hotcakes when I'm older. And though, X-Men #1 has increased in value over its $3.99 cover price or whatever it was. It's not selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars. No. But what got me into like collecting was actually JR with the Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows #1, I think it is.
Was #1, I think.
Yeah. And you had it's not the black and white variant, it's not the color variant, it was the sepia variant, and it's just gorgeous. And I remember looking at this cover, and I knew of J. Scott Campbell. A buddy of mine collected Gen 13 when we were older or younger. I knew of his definitive Mary Jane Watson. That's like pretty much the Mary Jane Watson is J. Campbell's. So I knew of that. Never heard of Stanley Lau. And I just remember seeing that cover and just going like, oh my gosh, this is just so gorgeous. Yeah. And you had told me, he's like, oh dude, there's different variants about it. I'm like, well, what's a variant? And he's like, dude, you've been collecting variants this whole year. This was at the 1 year anniversary of or right around the 1 year anniversary of Asylum.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what variants were. I didn't know a cover A, a cover B. And I started looking into it. I'm like, oh, okay. So there's a whole different side of this, just grabbing a book and getting number 1, getting number 2, getting number 3. And, I didn't realize until later down the road where, like I told you about Captain America, Steve Rogers, number 1, which is considered the Hydra Cap or the Hail Hydra Captain America issue. I grabbed I think I have the hip hop variant, number 1 of that, and just thought, oh, it's number 1. It tells the same story.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I didn't get the cover A was like, oh, it's too expensive. I don't know why they want $10 for this one, not knowing that at that time I could have probably saved a few bucks. Thankfully, I got a clean issue for right around like about between like $7 and $10 about a year or so after that. But it's up there in price. So but it was at that point I was like, you had kind of told me like, you want to look at artists, certain covers, and you kind of got me into the collecting side. Not just like, I mean, it's one thing to collect a run of comics that you and I do, but it's different to actually getting into the collector's items of it, getting into the variants, key issues and stuff. So that's what we're going to kind of talk about. What was the moment you went, and maybe we did kind of hit on this last week, but we'll kind of rehash it again. What was the moment you went from having a pull list of number 1, number 2, like just reading a series to, oh, I got to have this key. I got to have that one.
Yeah. I think, we touched on it last week, but the one issue that really got me into series collecting was actually Seven to Eternity. It was Image number 1. It's an Image comic book, indie press. It's Image. So, but the number 1 came out, and then I think number 2 and 3 were already out there, right? And and then like I saw number 2 and 3. I'm like, all right, cool. They promoted because it's Filipino. The artist is Filipino, Jeremy Opeña.
Yeah.
And it's Rick Remender, I think, or someone else who's doing the art, who's doing the story. I forgot whose name escapes me at the moment, but so I'm like, all right, cool. I see number 2 is a second print, and the number 3 was the first print. I'm like, oh, cool. I'll just check them out. You guys have number 1. They go, oh yeah, we have like the 4th print or 3rd print coming in for issue 1 coming in soon. So we can get you that one. I'm like, okay, sure. But what's the difference? They go, oh, and they broke it down like, well, when every time there's a new print out, that means that the old print, they only make a certain amount of runs, right? They make a certain amount, a set for the first run. So for the first run, they can make anywhere between 1,500 copies to 100,000 copies. And so the first run exceeded its run limit, so they went to 2 and 3 and 4 and whatever we're heavy, right? And let's go, okay, well, what's the difference then, right? Well, then Javelle comes in and goes, well, now number 1 is going for $80 online. I'm like, oh, okay then. And then that's how it first started for me. Long story short, just that little interaction just intrigued me more about the comic book world. And I've always been a collector, as you can see in the back, my pop collection and book collection and all that stuff, but never really been a comic book collector. And so when that first came out, when I first knew about what is collecting for comic books and what is Image Comics and what is and how the first one came to be was that Seven to Eternity, I was kind of just hooked, because like, because I got to talking about what's the ones to look out for, what are the ones you want to do. And then you got Javelle, who's a great resource, to talk to about like just what's coming up, what's going to be big. He has, I don't know how many years in the game, man. I think 30 plus years in the game of just just collecting comics and just collecting in general, and just having the know-how and just the history of like what goes up, what goes down, and pricing and all that stuff. But like, I think the first thing he just told me, like, just collect what you want to collect, period. If you already have some things if you already have a run, that you're doing right now, just collect that. You don't need to, because collecting in comic books specifically, to me, is very daunting. Because when you look at it coming in, you're talking about literally 80 plus years or more so of just history of like DC Comics, or if you go to Marvel Comics, that's that's so many generations, right? And so, you're just flooded with all these information and facts about like what to do, what to pick up, what you need to pick up. Oh, you're wasting me on this, you're wasting your money on that, you're wasting your money on this run or whatever. Like, first and foremost, dude, like, just, I guess, if you want to, we can kind of segue into the first tip. Is that cool?
Yeah, go ahead.
First thing to do is like know what you're getting into when you're collecting.
Yeah.
Know what you're getting into. Like, just the first thing, like, are you collecting because you just love the series, you love the run, you just want to collect because that's your favorite character, that's your favorite series? Cool, that's great. That's just have it at that. It doesn't need to be anything doesn't have to be any monetary gains with that,
No.
right? Or second, if you are trying to collect for somehow you want to, because somewhere down the line you want to sell that runoff, then know why you're collecting it. Like, are you collecting for the short term? And sometimes, comic book short terms aren't really short at all,
No.
because like a short term for one run is like a year, right? From issue 1 to 12, if they do one every month, that's a year. And then it doesn't really get good, and that series doesn't really get good until maybe 2-3 years in.
Yeah.
And so, the short term for comic books can range anywhere between 1 to 5 years. Or are you doing for the long term, which is most of the plays for most collectors today, where they're in it from 5 to 20, 30 years, because you don't know what book hits, at the end of the day. And so I think that's the first tip. Like, know what you're getting into when you're trying to collect. Are you collecting just for fun, or are you collecting because you want to make some type of monetary value at the end, or maybe it's a combination of both? So I know you had a point. So
No, and that actually ties perfectly in, because that's kind of what I was getting to the point too. With is the same thing as again, this is why great minds think alike. Is you have to know what you're getting yourself into. I did, but didn't know what I was getting myself into when I got back into collecting. Like I said, I said last week, was I started with one long box full of Superman comics, and of course, at the time, what kind of kickstarted me was the death of Superman, and maybe it was like a little bit of a sprinkling of, okay, I got to read this story because, well, it's Superman, he can't die. I got to know what happens, and then I'm like, at the same time, I'm going, oh, a death of, dude, that's almost like a first appearance. It's the last appearance, so you got to get that. I can resell it or something like that. So there was like a pinch of that. But I kind of got bit by the bug on the good writing and the artwork and stuff like that. And then same thing was what got me back into the getting back into comics was, seeing the pop culture world cross different borders. I mean, I'll use for example, and judge me whatever way you want, but the first time I heard about the Hydra Cap issue, the Captain America Steve Rogers #1, where he says Hell Hydra, was on FoxNews.com. So that tells you right there. When you have a comic book character crossing into a mainstream news media site, and it actually did get picked up by multiple news outlets, because at the time, you're right. This was in 2016. You're right smack dab in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Chris Evans' Captain America is established, well liked, well received. He's the all-American good boy. I mean, him saying, the S word, saying shit in Avengers Ultron was probably the most controversial thing he had done in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then, of course, saying, America's ass or son of a bitch in Endgame and Infinity War. That's like, oh, that was the most controversial that Chris Evans's Captain America got. So yeah, it was going to make news. And matter of fact, at the time, they asked Chris Evans what he thought about Cap saying Hail Hydra. And at first, he didn't like it, because he thought it was going to have a negative impact on his character. And then he read the story and went, well, what else can you do with this character that's been around for 80 years than to, hey, let's flip him on his head and let's see what we could do with him. And had it not been for that comic book, had it not been for people going, oh, you're not really making him a Nazi, which people also forget. Technically, Hydra was never Nazis. They were the science division of the German army. Yeah. And if anything, the Red Skull, it's established also in the movie, is Red Skull was not a fan of Hitler. he was about acquiring the power for himself. Some people may combine, okay, it's the same thing, fascism, whatever. We're not going to get into a political discussion, but in the comic books and in the movies, it's established that really Red Skull was not really a Nazi, but it's kind of sprinkled that on there to give Hydra that extra like villainous of it. And it's like going back to my point was like people were like, oh, so it is beyond it's not just him becoming a Hydra agent. It's there's more to it.
Yeah.
And it became a huge storyline. It led into Secret Empire, which was a decent storyline. I mean, maybe it sputtered a little bit, but had it not been for that, we would have never gotten the line in Avengers Endgame, which I geeked out when we all went and saw it with the Asylum last year, when he leans into my goodness.
It was one of the
I can't think of his name. It's Agent Sitwell, Agent Sitwell, and he leans in and goes, "Hail Hydra." I was like, yes. I was so stoked. And everyone knowing that I was a fan of that series turned and looked at me and was like, dude, no, I'm happy. It's almost as I was just as giddy of that as when I found out 2-3 months later that Taika Waititi announced that they were going to go with the Jane Foster Thor for the Love of Thunder, which is the Thor 4 movie. But yeah, I agree with you. Going back into it, know what you're getting yourself into. If you're in it for the money, be picky.
Yeah.
Unless you've got cash to burn, you got to be real selective about what you do. And I think that will kind of lead me into, again, going from, which you said, JR, about knowing what you're getting into. I'll lead into it. My second point is do your research.
Yeah.
Talk to guys like us. I mean, JR knows a little bit more than I do, but I've started to pick up a little bit of knowledge. Talk to guys like Sid and Javel. Chick knows some, but I mean, even Chick will tell you that Javel is just like has this wealth of knowledge. But really and truly, here in the Coachella Valley, especially, go with a guy like Sid or Javel. If you're outside the Coachella Valley, go to a local comic book store, talk to your shop owner, say, hey, this is what I'm into. Because he's going to ask you, okay, what do you want to collect? Oh, I'm into X-Men. Okay, if you want to start a collection, start with maybe, well, what do you do? What got you into X-Men? Oh, the animated series. Okay, start with a Jim Lee X-Men #1, or maybe start with an Uncanny X-Men #39, which is the first appearance of the blue and yellow uniforms. Get into that. Get into an Uncanny X-Men #141, 142, The Tales of Future Past. So yeah, do your homework. Not a trade secret. I'll give it away. Get into an app called Key Collector.
I hear a little feedback. 1 second.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I heard a little feedback. You heard a little bit of feedback in your end, so you might hear. Yeah.
All right. So it was getting too loud with the headphones off.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Is it better?
Yeah, it's better. It was just like a bunch of feedback. I don't know if it was your phone near the mic, but that's just.
Right. Gotcha. I know what it is. But yeah, I would say, like I said, do your research, and to kind of piggyback on what JR was saying about know what you're getting yourself into, and like, hey, okay, I want to get into X-Men books. Go into Key Collector and look up X-Men, look up Uncanny X-Men, look up X-Force, all the different X-Men books, or look up a character. And that's what I really like about Key Collector is you can look up a character, look up Wolverine. Okay, I want to collect Wolverine. Okay, you're looking at getting the iconic Wolverine Volume 1, issue #1 with the iconic, claws sticking up where he's just kind of like if you're wanting to collect for an artist, you're wanting to collect for a writer, there's Key Collector is really good first step. But what are some of the points you have for do your research?
Just for research, I was gonna piggyback off of that. Like another great resource is actually CLZ Comics.
Yes.
CLZ Comics. I'm currently using the phone version. I know there's before originally it was a one pay all thing, but then they're trying to expand a lot more nowadays.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be yearly subscription now, but then for people who've been in it before this subscription basis came on, you get your grandfathered in, and so it's like a one payment of like whatever it was, $15 for the full year. And then I'm also trying to look in for the looking for their, I guess, their PC version or or like their ones you can see on your laptop.
The
And
web browser version, the
yeah,
desktop. Yeah,
the desktop version. So like that's a little bit more. That's about the same price too, but I still think that's a great investment for me because like just to see, I'm gonna have it on right now, and it sucks that I can't like pull it up on the screen, but like I have it on right now. I just see how many what I have on just have saved on for my cloud profile, and I see all this stuff here, and just that's just a good track record of like what you have in your pool base or what in your collection. So like I know for me, I could have 2-3 comics of the exact same comic, right? 2-3 issues of the exact same issue because yeah, because like that's something that I do now. And so to say you'll find a lot of times too where like if you collecting because one you love the series, so you love the character,
yeah,
you tend to you see you might have a tendency to for me also, I'm talking to myself, I have the tendency to buy more than one copy, specifically if like that issue was amazing, right?
yeah.
The issue, the cover looks fantastic. Like I bought like one of the pivotal cover was I think Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows Volume 2. I think it was issue 5 or 6, right? Where or a little bit later than that, where it's Mary Jane, but then it's the Venomized cover of Mary Jane.
Ooh,
Yeah, and I bought like 6 covers of that because that just looks so freaking badass. And granted, people say, "Oh, why would you buy 6?" Right? That's $4 each. That's 20. That's like $24 right there. But like for me, I love it because it's an investment for me because one, the cover looks amazing. That to me, that is going to be a pivotal cover sometime down the future, and that's just an investment on that. And so sometimes people have the same thing like Spider-Man 300, right?
yeah,
First Prince of Venom that came out in 1991.
yeah, something like that. I was a guy just happened to be in possession of one of those.
Yeah, right. In 1991. And so like people bought like, how many
Wow,
copies of that? Like
88. Actually, it was 88. Wow,
88. Okay,
May of
cool.
88.
Yeah, like a one other person, the one person that comes to mind when I think of Spider-Man 300 is actually an Instagram user named that Spider-Man Booth. And that dude gives away 300, Spider-Man 300 copies like nothing, dude. And like that guy has like on one time, I think I've seen him have like 20 copies. And then he constantly has more copies. And so, granted, of course, these are always going to sell,
Yeah,
but there's also something that you just don't know until you just take a chance on it. And so, one, do your research.
yeah.
Absolutely, know know what you're trying to get into. Um, always have great resources. Yeah, you and I have a Chick, have a
Mm-hmm.
Javel, we have a Sid, we have you and I, we have other people that are in close proximity that that go to the same that go to the same drinking holes, and that we have we just we exchange pleasantries and we just talk about comic, we talk about whatever else, right? And so we have those exchanges. And so for people that are listening to this, they're not of the Coachella Valley, or they're not necessarily in Southern California, you got to know who is a good reputable source. You got to go to basically kind of the OGs of comic book collecting in your area, whoever that may be. It could be someone that had a comic book shop for like 20 years that's opened up, and that's because this person has seen all of it. And so yeah, it's always also good to just follow people online, see what they're collecting, see what pops out to you, and see. I just can't sing the praises of CLZ
Oh,
collection.
CLZ is,
Yeah,
and
it's
I think I brought that to the table, didn't I?
you did CLZ, and I brought up no, someone else brought up Key Collector. Key Collector is really good too, but it's just that Key Collector, they're very much, I know for a fact Key Collector is very much into those who are collecting, that are looking to sell
Yeah.
specifically. And so that's fine. If you want to do that, great. That's a great resource to have. And if you want to, because they're always in a process of like what's hot right now.
Yeah,
What's
they got the weekly top 20. And what I like about their crew at Key Collector too, to kind of help you know what you're getting yourself into, is you might look and go like if some people go like, oh, what's on eBay, and oh, this is selling right now. That's not a fair judgment. I did the same thing. And I used to watch a show called Comic Book Man on AMC, starring
yeah.
all of Kevin Smith's buddies. And these guys would come in and like, oh, I've got this whatever, and I saw it was selling on eBay for $6,000. Hey, I want to sell it for $6,000. Well, first off, you're never going to sell it to a retailer
No.
for full value. You're going to
No.
get they got to get some cost out of it. So
Yeah.
you have to know that going in. But one of the things that I like about Key Collector is that they've really helped people correct a lot of misconceptions. People will think, okay, a Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, was it 181?
Yeah.
As first appearance of Wolverine.
Yeah.
Well, technically, no. Is it 181 or 180? It has the last page.
180.
Okay, 180 has the last page. 181, he's on the cover, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Well, technically, and guys at Key Collector will tell you that technically the first appearance of Wolverine happened months prior, I believe, in a throwaway issue of some book, and it's an insert. And it's an insert in the middle of the book telling you about Hulk 180 and the what do they call it? A not a first appearance, but a
first cameo.
A cameo.
Yeah.
And so there's been a lot of and it really hasn't, like, people are going like, well, shoot, did my 180 and 181 just become devalued? No, those books will never devalue, especially if you've got a high grade one, which we'll get into grading in a little bit, in sources that you can do. But Key Collector has a lot of really good information about those hidden gems, finding out, okay, technically they're great about the was it the Mark the jeweler, or what's the guy's name, the jeweler insert?
Oh yeah, Mark. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
He's really good about those. It's telling you about, like, if you're looking for those kind of books, to what to look for that are key issues that have those inserts, stuff like that. But so there's always, you could find little hidden gems. Like, I think I have a first appearance of Nebula that I happened to get, and I happened to get into in a collection that I bought, and it was because of Key Collector, because people wanted to say, oh, it was this issue of the Avengers number whatever was the first appearance of Nebula, and he went, no, technically she made an appearance months prior, and she just was in a different form. It was Nebula. She looked different. That's what the character was. And the other thing too is you can find out is, now that more people are kind of skimming through books, is they're going like, oh, what's that little character that's in the background? Oh, that's so and so, that because they were just they were a background character, they didn't think about what they were. So that's why I think Key Collector is a nice little added tool. But like I said, it is more for people that are trying to flip books.
Yeah. Like right now, like also another good site is actually I don't know how low key this one is, but then is I go to comicbookinvest.com, CBSI.
Yeah, that was, I think Javelle told me about that one.
Yeah, and so that's actually one of those ones where, like, it shows you, they break down everything that we're gonna do too, but, like, it shows you what first appearance are, what's hot comics right now, and so that's something that I look at as well.
Yeah,
and it's just more so like they're in the tune of, like, what's hot right now, like, rather than while something like Key Collector or COZ will give you just a huge plethora of what's out, of what what's been out. I think CBSI, for me, they tell you, like, literally, okay, what first appearance of characters coming out this week.
Yeah.
And so I know for a while, like, I think when Batman 90 came out, or is it 91? No, Batman, I think it was the Year of the Villain, basically the first punchline. Joker's new sidekick.
Oh my gosh, I can't think of the name.
And that came, no, her name's Punchline. But, like, I just forgot the issue. Like, he's either like 89 or something lower than that. I know it was Year of the Villain, and so there was that pivot cover that just came out, and CBSI had it up, and I slept on it. I absolutely slept on it. Right, like, Punchline, okay, whatever. It'll be like old woman Harley all over again. Like something throwaway. And the first came out like, it's up for $10. Now it's like $40. I'm like, okay. Yeah, I should listen. But just stuff like that, just those are small things to get into. But overall, still the big headline is that, hey, collect what you want to collect.
Yeah.
Period. You don't have to. You don't have to keep on flipping on everything. I think one of our friends, I've seen him in a minute though. He first came it's Luis, and then when he first came by, he was definitely a guy that wanted to collect just Venom. And
Yeah.
I'm like, and he was talking about, he would ask all the questions that that a lot of people would still continue to ask if when they want to start collecting. I'm like, just collect what you want to collect Venom, collect your flashes, because I think it was either him or his girlfriend that was into Flash. I'm
I
like,
think
just
it
collect
was the
Flash.
girlfriend. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Heather?
No, not Heather. Forgot her name. Honestly, it's been a minute since I saw them.
So there's so many names.
Oh, dude, I feel bad for forgetting her name. I gotta hang out with them, but like, yeah, they're like, just collect what you want to collect. If you're a fan of this person, if you're a fan of this character, collect it. Like, who knows? If Flash 1, you might get a Godspeed.
Yeah.
First issue of Flash 1 in the Rebirth, you got Godspeed came out, and he just recently came out in the recent CW series, right?
Yeah.
And so, just that, like, first you have to know what you're trying to get into. That is the biggest point we're gonna constantly just drill into you. You have to know what you're getting into. If you want to collect because you want to just are a fan of it, cool, that's great.
You got to go back and take a look at my Instagram page again at Voice of Reason 23, and about 2 years.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. About 2 years ago, I literally had a collection of collections kind of dumped into my lap, and
Remember that.
And it's a friend of a friend called me and said, "Hey, my name is so and so. I'm going to keep the names anonymous. Hey, my name is so and so. Unfortunately, my son passed away, and I don't know anything about comics. So the way it was said to me was that, oh, it's a shoebox full of comics." I said, okay, I'll help her out to try to sell it. I said, the best way I'm going to do is probably go down to a comic book store and see what it's worth, see if you can sell it to them, and if not, put it on eBay. But I'll come and take a look at the collection and kind of give you an idea of what I think it's worth. Took a look at this collection. Again, when I showed up to the house, it was in a shoebox. And then they told me, oh, no, there's more boxes over here. And I ended up leaving that house with about 5 or 6 boxes, combination of long boxes and short boxes. And ended up having 1,500 comics. And in there were some gems. And we negotiated a price based on the value of the book. And a lot goes into the value of a book. And this collection had a lot of damage. A lot of wear and tear, because these were Bronze Age, early, maybe late Silver Age. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, like, Bronze Age starts at around, it depends on who you talk to, but if on average, Bronze Age starts at about 1975 or ish, maybe earlier, maybe 1970, and goes to about 85, 84, 85. And then Silver Age is going to go from maybe a little touch of the 70s, depending on the book, but most part it includes the 60s and the 50s, maybe half of the 50s. But the Golden Age, you're looking at definitely the early prints of comic books, and you're looking at the 20s with war comics and whatnot. The advent of the superhero in the 1930s with Captain America and the Human Torch, and Namor the Submariner, Superman, Lois Lane, and then of course into Detective Comics, which was introduced into the 1940s. So those consider the Golden Age, obviously because of the beginning of the superhero era, the 1950s and 60s with the Silver Age. And a lot of people say, oh, the Golden Age is better than Silver. Like, really, I think a lot of times when people refer to the Silver Age, I think that's really the best era of comic books, because that's where you ready to hit your stride with the introduction of characters like the Flash and whatnot on the DC side, and then of course on the
Marvel side.
Marvel side, the first family, Fantastic Four,
For your
Spider-Man,
Spider-Man.
X-Men,
Yeah.
the Incredible
Like
Hulk,
hmm
Thor, um,
Avengers.
Avengers.
Team of Avengers.
So you know your timetable. Like I said, to kind of roll the first couple things into know what you're getting into and do some research is, hey, if you got someone that comes to you and says, hey, I got a comic book collection, take a look at it.
Hmm.
One of my favorite things to do, and this is what in this whole COVID-19 coronavirus lockdown quarantine DEFCON 5 whatever we're in right now, I am missing the conventions right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely missing comic book conventions. And I love flipping what I refer to as flipping long boxes, and that is
Hmm.
flip, going through the long boxes and finding diamonds in the rough. Um, that kind of goes into what I was going to say. My third point is it's not a sprint; it's a marathon.
Hmm.
Um, you're gonna if you're looking for runs, like if you're gonna collect comics, and like for me, I'm collecting Bronze Age Uncanny X-Men. I'm trying to connect the dots, and I have a really good run of Uncanny X-Men in the mid to late '80s. But it's that early '80s when you're dealing with back to back to back to back major storylines, Days of Future Past, the Dark Phoenix saga, the death of Jean Grey, the death of Charles Xavier. I mean, just there were about 4 or 5 major storylines in a row from the Uncanny X-Men series, and I'm having a hard time finishing that run. And I'm going, you know what? I'm enjoying the race. I'm enjoying the marathon because I get to spend time with you guys, like you and Candace, Atner, Sarah, Edwin, going to Comic-Con Revolution, which, by the way, cheap plug, arguably one of the best Comic Cons I've ever been to. I mean, everyone says the granddaddy of them all is San Diego or going to WonderCon, but you can find some absolute diamonds in the rough at Revolution,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and get them signed for really dirt cheap.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, just I say, like I said, be prepared. Like JR said, know what you're getting yourself into.
Hmm.
Do your research,
Hmm.
and be prepared not only to what you're getting yourself into, is know what kind of time you're going to put into it. It's, again,
Yeah.
you can make a quick buck, find an Uncanny 141, which is probably an easy key issue to find for cheap. Find a Wolverine #1. Maybe find like JR said, an ASM number 300.
You
Uh,
try. Yeah.
okay, I'll use for example, a Spawn #1, cover A, volume 1.
Yeah.
Easy to find, probably easy to flip. You're not going to make major bucks, but if you get a stack of them, you can flip them.
Actually, I got to rebuke that now because
Uh-oh.
this movie's coming out. It's actually a little bit a little more
Might
pricier
go up.
nowadays. It did go up a little bit. I just checked. I just checked a little bit, as well as some personal buyers that put some stuff on the gram.
Good to know. I have
And
2 copies.
dude, they're selling Spawn 1 now for $40. Originally, you can get it for $20, right? And so then this isn't even I forget what they call the barcode variants for it, man. But then it's not that one.
um,
It's
not the newsstand.
it's newsstand. Yeah,
Oh,
the
newsstand.
barcode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
barcode's newsstand.
Yeah, barcodes are newsstand. So like it's not even newsstand variants. Like I saw one, I saw some people selling for $40 now. Now I don't know if that's personally, just because they want to sell it for 40, or that's the new standard now, because the guys that I go to, they're very reputable. They are clear across the board. And so when I see them sell about 40, I put a lot of value in their pricing. And so like cool. So that going up. And to kind of, piggyback off what you said before, um, you made a point about saying that, if you have a collection, right, don't expect to go to, retailers, because
Yeah.
we have to make this point, guys. Like there's some retailers that there'll be some mom and pop shops that might give you that money a
Oh
little
yeah.
bit here and there, but they're not gonna give you the full amount. They're
No.
not, because you have to understand that these mom and pop shops are very much mom and pop shops,
Yeah.
and that they have to sell. And granted, even though even though they'll these are your mom and pop shops, they will sell these $3.99 comics, where in a year from now they'll be worth $400.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, but
it's you can't always go into your comic asylum, or even Sid's Desert Oasis, right? and you come with a stack of comics expecting $300, you come out with like $30. So there's always that give and take. You have to go to other avenues. You can sell it. You could probably, if you have the patience for it, you can probably sell it all separately online, on eBay,
Yeah.
on Instagram. You might get someone, you might recoup, you might not. And so that was one thing you have to look at. Um, I know there are some other buyers out there that if you do have a good collection, and the one thing that there's a point that we're gonna get to, one thing that has to become clear is that is your collection good? Like not just like oh, you have certain issues, just more so if those issues are in good condition. And we'll get into that point later. The next point I want to kind of segue into is budget. Budget's
Yeah.
a big one. And like most people don't, well, a lot of people nowadays will absolutely, think about budget, especially, if like this is ultimately a hobby. Comic book collecting is a hobby. It can be a very expensive hobby, and it can be it can be a very much a very lucrative hobby. But then you also have to understand what is your budget. Period.
Yeah.
Or do you just have enough money to buy your pull for that week? Right, because there's been multiple times where I come in, I spend my 30, 40, 50, maybe sometimes $100 on my pool because I forgot to
Baller
pick up.
status right there.
Yeah, I sometimes
Flexing.
forget to pick. I forget to pick up, for maybe 2-3 weeks. Right, that's just me. And just so and every time I come in, there's always that variant that I want, right? That hot variant is out, right? So on top of my, $20, $30, pull, there's that $40 variant that's out. That's one for 25 that I see that might be, that might hit because, let's say it's a Peach Momoko cover. Peach Momoko is a new up and coming artist, right? And so that $40 cover could turn into $80 maybe in 3 weeks time from
Yeah.
now. Do I make that play? But if that's so, that means that's adding another $40 and that $40, that $30 that's going for my pool goes to $70 now. So that you have to take it into consideration. And so budget always plays a part. You don't always want to break your budget. Absolutely.
Oops.
Yeah, but like sometimes but at the same time, you have to, you need the risk you make, right? How do I word this properly? You don't always want to break your budget, but at the same time, if you do the research well enough, right? You do your research on your covers. If the issue is doing well, if that issue is it hits a certain peak, right? You don't want to risk it, right? Like I think for me, I risked it on. Just say this, right? Venom. This is a Venom Inc., right? This came out. I think I bought it for like $60 when it first came out. 3 years ago, 2 years
Is
ago
that
or
what it
so.
was?
Yeah, Venom Inc. It's a Del Auto variant, right? And I'm like, dang man, I really want it. But it was $60 sold from Chicken DeVille. And so like, I'm gonna get it. I got it, dude. It's like worth, I think I have a 9.8 of that. It's like worth like $400 now.
Jeez Louise.
So I'm like, cool. So like though, just certain things like that, you have to know your budget, but at the same time, if you do your research, you know when to take that step. And so that's just another point.
Yeah, and to go along with what JR just said is, you and I came up in, I mean, I'm 38, going to be 39 in August. You're probably a little bit, you're a little bit younger than me.
33.
How old are you? 33.
Yeah.
You get to about a certain age and go like, I forgot how old I was. But still, you and I kind of came up in the era of grading was near mint. So you see NM or NM plus, which is near mint plus, which is perfect, which you very rarely see. But you see near mint, mint, mint minus, very fine, which is what a VF is. You are going to find more VFs than anything else, and a really like a VF plus can the untrained eye is going to look at a VF plus and go like, dude, that's near mint, and you can, and it's like just like a little bit of spine damage.
Before you go on, I gotta to all my new audience that have no clue what we just said. Basically, what Kevin is alluding to is there's this point system, right? When you try to grade your copies, right? So when you have a comic book, right, the scaling system always goes from 0.0 to 10 as being the highest.
That's
and
the
so,
standard for across the board of anything.
Yeah, for anything.
Exactly.
But specifically for comics, right? Our grading system always going to go to CGC, which is Certified Graded Comics.
Yeah.
Yeah, Certified Graded Comics. That is a slab company, that will verify if your comic is, a certain is on the point scale, and if it's a certain grade, and so therefore they will seal it, encase it, and they'll put a tile on it saying, hey, this is certified a 9.8. 9.8 nowadays is actually really good. There's a lot more 9.8s now flooded today, but
We've got
to
any
certain,
slab books around here.
yeah, so do I. But yeah, before I rudely interrupted my compatriot
No,
here.
go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So as he's looking for his stuff, as he's looking for his CDCs, I'll just continue to say about the grading system. And so a lot of the older comics, right? Your Golden Age, or your Silver Age, or your Bronze, or even some of your moderns now, right? Let's say moderns or I think they're called Copper Nickel now, right? And so a lot of your older comics are gonna be fours. Period. They're gonna be fours. Your older comics from like the 1940s, you're not going to find it's going to be incredibly rare to find anything that goes over a 9 for your older comics. I'm talking about, your first Spider-Man. I'm talking about your first Superman. I'm talking about your first Batman, right?
I've
Even if you
only seen one, like Jared was saying, I've only seen, and they do exist, but they're like needles in a haystack. I have seen a high grade of a action number 1. I saw it on TV. It was on Comic Book Man, and the guy who runs Diamond Distributors has it in his museum in Baltimore, Maryland. And I want to say it's like a 7 or an 8. But they exist, but you're not going to find them.
Yeah. And like, there's a history to that. The reason why, there's a big history to why you can't find those high grades, and just kind of say it just a little bit, just a little tangent, is that the reason why you can't find these high grades of, Superman 1 is because, like, it was during the war, World War II. And so rather than people trying to find, stuff to, pack into like in the war machines and all that stuff. So they, as well as like just reuse paper. Right. And so all these comic books that were used for kids, they just take it back and they reuse it for the war effort. Right. Or sometimes, right. You can't have good copies because, you have kids that are like, 15 or like 10 years old, right? That go outside, they read the comics, they pack it up, they fold it, put it in their back pocket, and they ride their bike and go somewhere, right? These are the things, right? But you will find a rarity. I think the highest one I saw for Action 1 was a 9.0, and that sold in 2013, 2014 for like $2 million.
Oh yeah, you're getting.
That was back then.
Yeah, it's way up there now with the way things are going.
Yeah.
But going into what JR and I were talking about, grade system is you have to pay attention to that, because if you go in and say, I want like for me, like I said last week, I wanted Uncanny X-Men number 141, which is the iconic cover of Days of Future Past, arguably one of my favorite covers of all time. Mm-hmm. And I didn't care what grade it was. I just wanted it to be good looking. I thought at the time, I was like, oh, I'll just frame it, or I'll put it in some kind of cover. And then I saw it and I'm like, I saw how you frame a comic book, and I was like, I kind of fell out of love with slabbing books. But I was like, I remember I didn't care what grade the book was, because I wasn't, for me, it wasn't about reselling it. It was, I just wanted to have it. And I remember a guy showed me, because I was like, he's like, what's your budget? So again, going into the points that you and I have been making, was I said $60. And the guy's like, okay, here. And he showed me like a 4.0 of it. And I'm like, you're talking about a book, Uncanny X-Men number 141 is probably from the 80s. So, I mean, it's really, like you said, it's not that old, but a 4.0 of a 30, 40-year-old book, it's going to be pretty darn wrecked. Yeah. I mean, I've seen, let's see, Uncanny 141, it's going to bug me. It was January of 81, so it was about 6 months before, or about 8 months before I was born. Yeah. But, a 38-year-old book right now, if you got it in a 4.0, it's not going to be worth $60. Yeah. And so you have to be really careful about what you're looking for and what you care about. Knowledge is power. Yeah. No grading system. That's why Key Collector comes in handy and stuff like that. and just kind of know. And you know what? There are guys out there that they're just like anybody else. They're all about the money. You know, they're capitalist,
Mm-hmm.
and they're gonna see go like, okay, this guy really wants an Uncanny 141. All right, yeah, $60. But he knows that he could turn around and sell that 4.0 for 20 and still make money because
Yeah.
God knows he didn't pay more than $20 to
Yeah.
acquire it himself. And if it was in his collection, he paid in 1981. He probably paid a dollar for it. You know,
Yeah.
what was it? I don't know if it shows me what the cover price was for it. Cover price 50
150.
cents.
50
50
cents. Yeah.
cents. So
All right.
if it's his from his personal collection, like I said, he paid
No.
50 cents for it in
Yeah.
1981.
Yeah.
So you know the grading system, and you know what? There are guys that will. There are some guys that will have a most sellers, especially at a con, are pretty honest. And if
Mm-hmm.
they put for me, like if they put a very fine, which would probably be an 8.5 to an 8.9,
Mm.
um, it's gonna be pretty darn close to exactly what that is.
Yeah.
And but you have to be careful too. Is like say, hey, can I open the bag? And some of them will choose if it's an older book, they'll choose to white
Yeah.
glove it, pull it out themselves.
Yeah.
But if you're kind of looking at it going, that don't look very fine, and
Yeah.
be prepared to ask. And you know, and some will be insulted by you going, you want 60 for it? I'll give you 30, or I'll give you 40 for it.
Yeah.
And be respectful, but don't be at the same time. Don't be afraid to know
Yeah.
what you want.
Yeah. Which goes into my next point, and I didn't actually write this one down, but then it came up. Don't get fooled at cons, at conventions.
Oh, you gotta be careful
Don't get
sometimes.
fooled at, and so like there are like what did Javel say, right? Convention prices, right?
Yeah.
That's absolutely the truth, man. Like, granted, this could be a whole nother topic, but like
Oh yeah.
when you're doing convention, right, specifically for collecting, don't blow your wad in the first 15 minutes, especially if you have been to convention before. And so what I mean by that is that like this happened to me and to people I know, specifically my sister. It's happened to us many times where like, you know, we go to convention for the very first time, right? And we hit that one booth that has everything that we wanted to have, you know, for to get on our get list, right?
Yep.
So,
Been there.
and so like I go to this one one shop, and the guy's cool, he's charismatic, right? You say, oh, you know, you want your, let's say, Venom 3, right? For, you know, that just came out. I can give you $30 for it, right? Here you go. And the cover's kind of dinged up, but you know what? I saw it, it's right there. I check off my list. I do that, right? Or let's say or like not Cass, but let's say someone I know picks up a what's called an ASM 15 at the time, right? Or something else, right? And that's covered that she wanted or he wanted, and like, oh, cool, you know, I can give you for $60, right? Okay, there you go, you got it. And then literally right after we doing that, right, we spent a good amount of money. We would literally go to the next booth over, and they had the exact same one for cheaper and better condition.
Yeah, I've been there.
Always take your time conventions, and so um there is that weird like type of a like leveling thing where like where you at convention, right? So you always gotta take your time. Don't blow your luck. Don't blow your luck. Usually the first days, right? People just kind of just look. You know, they look and they look around, see who's out and about, and you know, they always have in mind, okay, cool, what's my budget? What's my, you know, what are the Comic Con prices, right? And you always it's this weird dance between, you know, between consumer or between customer and retailer of like, you know, how can we work this out, right? I definitely want this comic, but you're selling for way too much than I want it to be, right? And granted, yeah, we want to be, you know, always cool and cordial with, you know, with our retailers, because you know they're busting their butts too, they're busting their asses,
Oh yeah.
and they're, you know, they don't want to get screwed over too. But at the same time, man, I've seen multiple occasions where I remember one convention. I think the very first, I know, the second year of Palm Springs Comic Con, or Comic Con Palm Springs, right?
Comic Con Palm Springs.
Comic Con Palm Springs, where I was looking for that pivotal ASM 601, right? Mary Jane cover
Oh,
of
okay.
Spider-Man, right? From J. Scott Campbell. And I'm like, all right, cool. I gotta find this cover, right? Because my sister, she's got it, right? She got it for a good price from this guy that we got too. She got for like $35, right? I'm like, oh dang, I really want that. I go to a vendor in the very front of the convention center, right? And I say, hey man, you have 601? He goes, yeah, I have 2 copies. Like, all right, cool. And I see them and they're beat the hell up, right? And he goes, I got 2 good ones, man. Here you go. This one, and that's my better copy. I'll give you that for $75.
Oh, I won't show.
Yeah,
Damn my virtual background.
he, he gives me the better version, which is still beat up. I think probably it was like around a 5, right? A 5, well read. He goes, yeah, I'll give you $75 for it. I'm like, that's it.
That's the one. So I know it's a little glary, and again, we'll post some stuff.
I got the foam version, the foam print, yeah. And so yeah, I'm like, yeah, it's crazy to have you within the same convention hall where you have a guy sell a cover for $75, and then literally down the aisle you have the same cover, better condition for much cheaper. It's always this weird dance between consumer and retailer of like how we can work out a deal and be very respectful of both ends, but you don't always want to burn bridges. Because the one thing that I do know working conventions now is that people talk.
Oh yeah.
Retailers, or people who work at the convention hall, right? They talk. How was your sales going? Who to look out for? This guy's lowballing me like crazy. I get that, and that's just a whole other topic we can get into for another podcast, man. Like just having
this podcast is spawning a lot of different podcasts.
Yeah, man. It's once you get into collecting, man, there's this huge world, bro. But yeah, that's my other thing. Like just knowing that you don't want to blow your load at cons, dude. But go ahead. But
get to know guys. I was trying to find his name. There's a guy, I have seen him at least. I see him. He goes to San Diego every year, and he goes to WonderCon every year. And I forget his name. I want to say, and I really apologize if I got the ethnicity wrong. I want to say he's Korean, but I'm not 100% sure. But his name is Harley Yee. He's from Missouri. He goes to, dude makes a living going to cons. Nice man, super chill. And this guy sees hundreds of thousands of collectors year in and year out, convention after convention after convention. But remembered me at WonderCon last year he appeared at, he just happened to appear at Revolution the year before, which was weird to see him at a regional con. And then I ran into him in San Diego this past summer, and I said, do you remember me from WonderCon? Knowing he's not going to remember me. He goes, yeah, how'd your wife like that Thor book that she bought? And I go, oh, dude, the guy actually does remember. And then on top of that, he was in Vegas at Amazing Con. And again, he kind of vaguely remembered me, but he remembers he remembers his regulars. And there's guys like that make a living off of conventions that do go around and they're trying to sell their collection, or they pick up books from different people. They work and trade or something like that. You look at like the guy that runs Mile High Comics and has spent literally millions of dollars in bank loans and stuff like that, and selling his personal collection and buying. I think he says right now his warehouse in Denver, he has over 1.5 million copies of comics. And it was like, yep. No sooner does he sell a section of long boxes on the floor, it has a snake system, and it snakes right onto the floor, and he's there to he says I think he has his warehouse in Denver is close to a million square feet, which is like an Amazon distribution center.
Which one, the first one or the second one? Because
I think this is the latest one. This is like the second or the third building.
Yeah.
But he says the emptiest it's ever been in his warehouse was, I think there was like 7 sections of the last row were empty, and it was only empty for like less than a month. And I was like, dude, that's insane. And he does all kind of collectibles and stuff like that. And I can't think of what his name is off the top of my head, but super nice guy. People will say that Mile High Comics maybe is a little pricey, but you have to take into consideration, this goes along with JR, and the con pricing is that these guys are probably paying on average at the average convention, regional convention, anywhere from about $200 to $500 for a table. That's
Yeah.
a table. Now you're talking about a guy buying like a oh my gosh, I can't think of the guy's name that does San Diego. They have all the end caps, and it'll come to me. But he talks about before he's even allowed in the San Diego Convention Center, he writes a check for $20,000. You're talking about starting in the hole. Talk about this. Talk about you're in business, right? And I understand you got startup costs and stuff like that. But let's say you're going to grand open, right? Yeah. First day of work, and you're in the hole, 20 grand cash. I mean, I understand bank loans and stuff like that, but you're in the hole. Like, you're spending out of your own pocket 20 G's just to get in the door at a convention because you're paying for these end cap. Now, he's probably going to make it. The dude just unloads on trades, on variants and stuff like that.
Bro, that is a totally different.
We'll get into conventions once conventions get going again. But I'll give you a little tip to piggyback on what JR said. Don't blow your load at the beginning and the first day. Blow your load on the last day.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to carry those books back to their van, to their semi hauler, stuff like that. They don't want to bring thousands of books back. You can get books for pennies on the dollar. I'm not joking because it's happened to me. It happened to me in Vegas last year. I went to San Diego on a Sunday last year for the first time ever. Dude, made out like crazy. Got some great autographs for no cost because these artists and stuff are like, I'm bored. I want to go home. Oh, do you want an autograph? And just get out of there. Again, I think we've kind of like hit all the major points. Going back real quick to rewind on slabbing books, it's still hit or miss. Guys like JR love slabbing books, love CGC. Guys like me, I love the raw book. I want to be able to hold it. If I have to white glove it, I'll white glove it. But I love being able to take a book, right, crack open that tape, pull the book out, and just be able to go like, oh yeah, that smells like my childhood. When I got, and again, not to beat a dead horse, but when I got my Uncanny X-Men number 141 a couple of years ago, I remember when I looked at it, first off, the bag and board. If you buy, another real quick tip, if you buy someone's collection, or if you're buying something from a comic book convention, ask nicely to have the book taken out of the board, a bag and board, because a lot of times, which actually can work into your favor, the bag and board may look like garbage. Yeah. And it also can affect the value of the book, because it can also kind of say, okay, how long has that book been inside that bag and board? Looks like it's been in there for about 5 to 10 years. And you take it out, a dirty bag and board can either hide a gem or it can hide a dumpster fire. Yeah. But I remember
that's right. Alternative. I was about to say alternative. Like the one thing that a lot of newer retailers or people, who just do convention halls do all day is that they buy Mylar. Mylar, if you don't know, is like these really, really high textured, very poppy looking, bags. Mylar and I think barebacks, for the back ends.
Yeah. For those who don't know, if you buy from J. Scott Campbell, all of his books at conventions and on his shop are sold in Mylar.
Yeah. And so those ones, right, they pop more for the book, right, hiding a lot of imperfections.
Yep.
And so even though you can look at it, right, and the book looks great and clean up front, right, it is until you take the book out, right, that you see a bunch of when they say it's a 9.8 possible graded variant, it could probably be like a 9. It could be that, that's how well Mylars cover up imperfections. But yeah, okay, so just segue into we're about how much time?
A little over an hour.
Yeah, an hour. So I think you want to
kind of
go ahead.
Well, I was going to put a little pretty bow on this, but you and I are not just about collecting comics.
Yeah,
we're collectors, and I'm going to take down my little Detective Pikachu barrier here, and because I know that the green screen effect is going to kind of affect the visuals. You and I are big into pops, but I don't know how you do it. But again, this goes into, you like CGC, I like the raw books. My pops, and again, sorry for the office background, but I actually take my pops out of the box. This one I just got this past
How
week.
dare you, you heathen!
This one I just got from Chick. Shout out to Chick from Comic Asylum. She got me this before we went. She ordered it before we went into quarantine. This is a PX limited edition,
Mhm.
and this is a glow in the dark uh, special pop variant, a pop Funko. This is Tony Stark, Iron Man from Avengers Endgame. Of course, the moment where he takes the nano gauntlet and snaps, "I am Iron Man." You can kind of see the nano gauntlet right there. Of course, he's got the bloody face. He's got the bruises. He's on his knees to go, "I am Iron Man." After Thanos goes, "I am inevitable."
Mhm.
Coming from the same movie. Spoiler alert! Oh, by the way, spoiler alerts. Tony Stark dies. Another spoiler alert. Thor cap. Of course, got the broken shield, which was
Mhm.
kind of hinted at in Avengers in Age of Ultron. But of
Mhm.
course, right there, Rocket Mjolnir with the lightning. Got this one. I don't know how this one was like a steal. I think I got this off Amazon for like $8,
Hmm.
and it was just sitting there on the front page. Now, one of my favorite Funkos in my collection. They all happen to be. This happens to be a Captain America. Also happens to be a Marvel Cinematic Universe one. It's a little dusty, and people that's why you keep it in the box. These are
Yeah.
fun. I'm not going to sell these. This is a limited edition, only sold at the time at the Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle, Washington. I think in 2017.
Mhm.
This was a day one exclusive. Of course, it is the Marvel Cinematic Universe Avenger. Captain America, First Avengers, Steve Rogers, Funko with the original Cap shield. You got the Cap helmet with the A on there and the goggles for when he jumped into the Germany and jumped into Germany occupied Austria to save what inevitably would be the Howling Commandos.
Mhm.
So it's one of my favorite. It also has the famed leather jacket. You can kind of tell there.
Yeah.
It's a cool pop. I do have an exclusive. This just got here. This just got released this week. So this is an exclusive. These are only on Amazon if you're a Marvel Collector Core collector. These are not supposed to be out yet because Marvel could not stop Amazon from shipping these because the movie got pushed to November. But these are the
I love it.
first Black Widow Marvel exclusive Marvel Collector Core Funkos. This is you can't quite tell. That's what it kind of looks like with her with a grappling hook. But you see in there, she's got a bloody nose, bruised face. I really like the artwork that Funko does on these. So that this is the Natasha Romanoff grappling hook Marvel Collector Core, and then the Alexi, aka Red Guardian, and he is holding a Red Guardian doll in his hand, and I can't quite tell what he's holding in his other hand, but this is the Alexi
Mhm.
Funko that just came out.
Mhm.
Again, this just got released this week. They technically started shipping on the 28th of May. I got mine yesterday in the mail. It came with a shirt with Natasha on the cover, but my wife's wearing it right now. I got a Taskmaster Funko pin, which is really cool. I really like what they did with Taskmaster. And I think that, well, there was a sticker too.
Mhm.
Also, a little COVID shout out here. This was from
COVID shout out.
little COVID shout out, little coronavirus. Uh,
Ah.
this is a Star Wars loot crate.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
just a bandana. This was came out for the Force Awakens. So you've
Mhm.
got R2D2, BB-8, old
I
school
gotcha.
bandana with you have the X-wing on here. I think this is the Poe Dameron X-wing on the corners here. Just a silly little collectible. But this has been my. Of course, you've got the Rebel logo in the
Mhm.
middle. So this has been my. This is my. Oh shoot! I forgot my mask, so I leave this in my car collector for the old school kind of
Ah.
bandana. And one more. Well, you know what? I'll save the best for you. What do you got, Jared? I'll save mine for my.
So to segue back, like you're gonna see a difference in collecting. But granted that Kevin is gonna collect Funkos because he's a fan,
Yep.
right? I collect Funkos because I intend to sell them eventually, and so I have a huge collection of Funkos. I intend to sell eventually, and so one of the first ones I got at Adrian's store, right? When he still had this Interstellar, right? I got for like $10, right? And it's the
Yeah.
Gerard Way.
Who
Gerard
is?
Way. This is My Chemical Romance.
Oh, Michael Comic. Okay.
Yeah, this was the oh man, it was my favorite album too. It was the Black Parade one, right? And so I bought this one because I'm a big fan of Gerard Way. You know, he's currently doing he was doing young animals for DC,
Yeah.
right? That whole run. It's going for $95 right now on eBay. It's this one, right? So you'll see a theme in this one. A friend, when I was still working at
At one place.
that one place, right? Which I got all my pops from half off, by the way.
Oh, you
And
suck.
so I got a friend who got me this one, right? And I told him, like, I can pay you for it, dude. Like, no, don't worry about it. I got it for you because, you know, you're helping me out. And this is Trafficker Law.
Oh,
This is
okay.
from an anime called One Piece, right? And I didn't know it. I didn't know at the time, but this is actually my most valuable pop. It's going for like 175.
And by the way, the cap at that one, and shoot, I have another one. I can't remember which one it is. I have two really valuable ones, but I think that cap one, if it were still in a box, it'd probably be one of my more valuable ones.
My last pop, right? And I have another one. I just can't find it. Is this is if you know Cowboy Bebop, the anime.
Oh yeah,
It's,
yeah.
the main
I'm
character
not
is
a big
Spike.
anime fan, but yeah, I do recognize the title.
Yeah, this one's going for like how much is it going for? Let me see. I know that one's like my second most valuable one. So let me just check it real quick.
Let me see if I can find
Pop.
mine real quick. And
It's
again,
going
another fun, valuable
120.
tool to use
120.
while JR looks it up is Funko has an official app that you can store all your Funkos. It really helps out with
Hey,
keeping
did
it
you?
keeping it
Yeah,
kind of tight, keeping the
yeah,
collection together. And let's
yeah.
see.
I will say they're just baseline prices. Like they try to aggregate from other shops and other places, but like they don't go from eBay. eBay is the best source to try to find what's your baseline price,
Yeah,
or what's your actual, you know, what's selling for right now on the market. And so like even though because my traffical law on there it was like one is selling for like 120, but it's actually like 175, right? And my spike is maybe like $80 there on the Funko app. It's like selling for like 120 something right now. And so it's just a good baseline to have, as well as like, you know, it's just good to have. That Funko app is really good to have, you know, just to see where your collection is at and what's
I
the
think
worth.
yeah, I think like the most bang for my buck is last year. I think it was. Yeah, I think it was last year.
Mm.
Warner Brothers and Funko got together and issued because it was going to be coming up was going to be. I think it was to celebrate the last season of The Big Bang Theory. They
Mm.
released the Big Bang Theory Halloween line, which of course was, if you know the characters, would be Dr. Leonard Hofstadter as the Green Lantern, Howard Wolowitz as Batman, Raj Kuttrapali as Aquaman, and Penny as, of course, Wonder Woman. And they don't have, however, I can't remember his name now, but the boyfriend, Penny's boyfriend at the time, was actually
Mm.
Superman. But they just have the main characters in their costume contest Halloween costumes as the Justice League. And my Howard Wolowitz Batman, again, we paid maybe $12 tops for the
Mm.
Howard Wolowitz, and I would imagine these are in box. The Howard
Mm.
Wolowitz Batman is $40 right now, according to Funko. The Wonder Woman for Penny is 36.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find. There was the cap. No, I'm sorry. I have a different cap with the Shield and Mjolnir. It was the cap that came in the Avengers in-game box last year for Collector Core. That one is 55. The box itself goes for 30 through
Mm.
Amazon. I think it is. Just trying to go through. But again, these are all kind of. I have my wife has the Groot with the mixtape. That one's going for about 65, $70. So again, a good tool to have.
Mm-hmm.
They'll tell you an approximate value. Obviously, they can go up based on the condition of the box, what number they are, because a lot of times you can go like, oh, do you have a Captain America? Okay, what number are you looking for?
Yeah.
What, so.
Oh, let me also gonna show
What
off
else
my
you got,
CGC
bud?
stuff quick. Yeah. Oh, I apologize for my squeaky ass chair again. You hear the squeaking my chair. But yeah. So to segue back into just CGC stuff. I know this like we're gonna end it off soon, but like uh, this one right here. Love this cover. It's the the glare on my screen is
I know.
horrible. It's horrendous. But like this, if you can see, it's the Carnage variant of Occult Carnage,
And that's
and
just going
that's
to go up over the next year too.
yeah. So like these are definitely I CGC my stuff because inevitably it's always good to have like verified prices, right? If it's a 9.8 of a certain book, right, and that's the price, I'll always be the price.
Yeah.
Like it will it'll fluctuate, right? But it's for me, it's always a better investment to get a CGC because like if I have a raw book of the same book, that can go anywhere between $30 to maybe $90, right?
Yeah.
Fluctuate. But then if I have a CGC 9.8, I think the last one sold for maybe about $230, right? It'll always be either that price or somewhere else. You can like people will negotiate prices, sure, but like it won't ever go down to like a possible 9.8 raw for $70.
Yeah.
If that's the case. And so that's just my thing. I also have a bunch of other stuff. This one right here, X-Men Blue 22, I think. This one came out 21, and then I was gonna show this off to you.
Oh, okay, which one? Oh, good. Which one's the more hard to
This one.
find? The color one.
This
Okay.
one. The color
Yeah,
one.
that's one of the very few books I think of from my Gwenpool collection that I'm missing. I'm missing that Ron Lim cover. I'm missing. Oh my gosh, I'm missing. Actually, it's funny. I asked Ron Lim himself, not once but twice, if he had that book, and if so, I'd be willing to buy it off of him if the price was right. He literally told me in San Diego last year, because I asked him in Vegas when I met him, and I had a Gwenpool shirt on, and he asked me, "Oh, love your shirt. Are you a fan?" When else are you going to see a guy rocking a hot pink Gwenpool shirt and not be a fan? Sorry. But I said, no, dude, I love the character. I think it's so cool, so original. And he goes, do you own any of my covers? And I said, I have a cover because he has a couple of them. But the most sought after is that colored version. I have the black and white version. And I asked him, I said, by any chance, do you have one colored? And if so, how much you want for it? And he goes, dude, the last time I saw that cover was when I surrendered my original to Marvel. And he goes, that's like, they offered to sell me one. And I said, wait, dude, you created the cover. And he goes, doesn't matter. Welcome to the comic world, kid. And he goes, by the way, if I had one too, I would have given it to you just for being a dude rocking around a comic convention with a pink shirt. And I'm like, nice. So I went and I met him because there was a couple of books I had acquired between June of last year and July for Comic-Con San Diego. I acquired a, oh my gosh, I think it's called The Age of Thanos or something like that. And it basically tells the story of A, why, and B, how he acquired the Infinity Stones. And it's a really cool book. It's completely drawn by Ron Lim. And I brought it to have him sign. And I actually forgot it the day he was there. I went to him, I'm like, oh crap, I don't have it. So I ended up having him sign something else. And then when I did bring it, he actually pieced out early. But when I showed up, that was another thing. That's what it was. I had a book that I forgot to have him sign in Vegas. I had him sign. So I asked him, I said, hey, do you remember me from Vegas? And I had the blue, my blue Gwenpool shirt. He's like, were you wearing a hot pink one in Vegas? And I said, yeah. And he goes, oh, you told me you were going to show up in San Diego. Hey, by the way, I looked for that book, still couldn't find it. He goes, I really did, honestly, because you told me you were coming to San Diego. If I would have found it, I would have brought it for you and given it to you. And I'm like, oh, dude, I want that book. It's a $300 wall book. But no,
Yep.
You have it. I don't. You're a jerk.
It went to JaVale, my dude.
I know. He had one on the wall for a while, much like he had that Uncanny 141. And I think I finally was going to put a down payment on it.
I took it up. Yeah, she might be coming out. She might be coming out soon in the movie, dude. And I'm watching that.
There is only a matter of time before she does. And I have the first cover appearance, which was on Deadpool Secret Wars number 0.
Yeah.
I even have the Mexico variant, which is
the Mole variant.
Is that what it is? Where but it's from Mexico though, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
The convention is Mexico.
yeah, and it's the cover's black and the water is red. Because for the people who don't know, Gwenpool's first appearance on a cover was her on a raft in a water, and the only reason that they did it was that it was for Deadpool Secret Wars. It came out in 2015, was because at that point Spider-Gwen had become such a huge hit. They're like, oh well, let's do these Gwen Stacy amalgamations, and Deadpool's a big thing. So that was it literally was a female Deadpool.
Gwen Stacy.
And that year at all the conventions after that book came out, she blew up. People were cosplaying as her. So they made her appearance in Howard the Duck #1. And she had her own book by December, I think, of 15. And I do have the cover A first appearance of Gwenpool for Howard the Duck. I do have the Deadpool Secret Wars. I have the Unbelievable Gwenpool #1.
Mm-hmm.
I have that whole series, all the variants. I've put a lot of money into my Gwenpool collection, but I don't have that one. And I'm also missing the one. It's like the Christmas cover, and it's her kind of walking around like hee hee, and it's a picture of Frank Castle tied to an office chair with like a bomb strapped to his chest or something like that in an elevator.
Hey,
and it was an homage to Die Hard.
Just for us, please never say hee hee.
Oh, why not? It's fun.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
We'll wrap things up. By the way, JR hit on another thing too. Anime is huge right now, so I got the Pokemon Go rocking. I'm a big Pokemon fan. If you're wanting to get into collecting, again on the Funko side, the Pokemon Funkos are massive right now. As a matter of fact, all the Pokemon Funkos that they've announced, my last shipment won't be here until July 8th. I have a Angry Pikachu, a Growlithe, Cubone, and I think it's a Rattata. I think it's what it is. Those won't be here till July. Those things are blowing up. I have the 10-inch Squirtle and the 10-inch Charmander, which I think I bought for $30. They're well over $40 and $50 a piece. So again, a good investment on that. But I'm going to end on this note. For those who, like JR said, I am a huge fan of the cinematic side of the comic books. And what I really kind of, I started getting into collecting. I do the statues now a little bit, but I got the Marvel Legends scale Infinity Gauntlet right before Infinity War in 2018. And then I got as a gift, sort of, was the Captain America shield and the Thor hammer. Now, the Thor hammer is in my son's room, along with the 2 Infinity Gauntlets. I have the Thanos Infinity Gauntlet, and I have the Avengers Nano Gauntlet, which is the red gauntlet that Hulk uses uses it in game. But here is my scale replica. It's a little dusty, of my Cap shield that I have here. A little collecting, and then one of my favorite pieces, again from the Marvel Legends. The Marvel Legends. I don't think it's Mattel. Oh, Hasbro. Yeah. Is my Iron Man helmet. It does light up if I can find the trigger button here. Make me actually look.
That's some straight nerd shit.
Dude. And you know you love it because you tried it on.
Yeah. So, oh my gosh.
And yeah, it does. So, there's all kinds of collecting you guys can do, and it's whatever's kind of, it's whatever you guys find to be important, whatever you guys like. It may not always be about flipping, looking for that return on your investment, but I think we gave you guys some information about what to look for if you do. Again, to kind of rehash, know what you're getting yourself into, do your research, know your information, learn the terminology so you don't go in and get taken advantage of. Beware of the con pricing. It can work it can be work against you. It can work for you. To wrap it in a nutshell, I mean, don't feel you have to buy on opening day. But if I can recommend, buy on the last day.
Yeah. Also, my last point, be proud of your shit.
Oh
You're
yeah,
proud of this stuff, dude. Like you're collecting nerd stuff, nerd culture. Be proud of it, dude. Who cares, man?
own it. Don't
Own
don't
it.
don't be like I said. Say what you want about why it's a big deal, but I mean, like me, huge Gwenpool fan. It's not what the character was written for. Huge Gwenpool fan because it was an original idea. I like the idea, and you know what? I don't give a crap. I'll walk around with a hot pink T-shirt on at a convention.
You
I've
gotta.
had more.
Go
Dude,
ahead.
I've had so many people compliment me on the shirt
You
between
got a.
cosplayers.
You got a 30-plus-year-old man. I'm saying both for both of us.
Yeah.
30-plus-year-old white dude who loves Gwenpool, and a 30-plus-year-old Filipino dude who loves Power Girl. All right.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Like,
But we know why Jr. likes Power Girl. So
yeah, her character.
her character.
Right. Her character. How dare you? I will simp the hell out of her. How dare you?
I'll tell you one thing, man. I got so many compliments from all the way down from the guy who. Well, I got a compliment from one of the co-creators of Deadpool, but at the same time, it was a little bittersweet for him because Marvel did kind of screw him out of some royalties on that, and that was Fabian. I always call him Fabian Macias, but it's not how you say his last name. But
yeah.
But no, guys, I hope we gave you guys some information. We'll be back next week with a full rundown of probably about 2 weeks worth of pull list. It was kind of a quiet pull list this week. It's kind of going back and forth. DC really had that first big day back in about the third week of May. Marvel had last week, had a little bit of this week. Obviously, we had the 80th anniversary of Catwoman. Congratulations to Catwoman and everyone who has played the character. Has even as bad as Halle Berry's was, she still gutted up and did it. I mean, everyone from was it Julie Newmar or to Eartha Kitt, who played it in the original Batman and the Batman 66. Michelle Pfeiffer, Michelle Pfeiffer owned it in Batman Returns. My girl, I just completely drew a blank on her name now.
That's what I'm dreaming about.
Dark Knight Returns.
Dark
Knight Rises.
Dark Knight Rises. I gotta find it.
I know. I love her in almost everything she does, but I thought she played the cat burglar side of the Catwoman of the actual character of. But no, I thought she did a great job. And then who is it that's supposed to be playing her in the Batman? Is
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway played her in Dark Knight Rises. That's who it was. But wasn't it? Isn't it?
It's
Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah,
Zoe Kravitz is going to be playing
American Woman. Her dad
is going to be playing Catwoman in the Batman with Robert Pattinson.
That's gonna be interesting. That
could be a lot of fun. To me, you could say it's about skin color or not. Has a very Eartha Kitt vibe to her. Yeah. I loved that version of Catwoman. Can't go wrong with it. I mean, to me, that character, if it's done right, can do no wrong. But congratulations to her 80th anniversary.
Yeah, Zoe Kravitz. Zoe Kravitz to me just kind of like is kind of tangible. Like Zoe Kravitz to me always kind of look a lot more Middle Eastern. With her skin color, and so like the more recent iterations of Catwoman looks a little bit more Middle Eastern, in my opinion. Even though, granted, like people who read current Batman, right? She's gonna look she's gonna look very much like Bruce, right, in skin tone. I'm like, yo, dude, the last couple of years, they've been really trying to accentuate who Selena Kyle's supposed to be.
Selena Kyle, I couldn't think of the alter ego.
Yeah, says Selena Kyle. So I'm like, Selena Kyle looks a little more Middle Eastern, so it's fine. I'm cool with it. The DC been doing great the last couple years of their movies, right? Granted, that kind of little miss with Harley Quinn emancipation. We could talk about that later.
We'll talk. We'll do a movie. You know what we could do is maybe that will be the next bonus episode. We'll do our regular weekly episode. We'll talk about the movies, what we like, what we dislike, and of course we'll probably hit on it multiple times more as we get closer to the release of movies in general. Back to normal. Wonder Woman 84, Black Widow. We've got the Age of Carnage or whatever they're calling it. Venom 2. So we'll get to that. Again, you can find me on social media at Voice of Reason 23. On Instagram, I have most of my collection posted in the photo collage there. You'd also find me on Facebook. Just search out Voice of Reason 23. Same thing on Twitter, Snapchat, the whole 9 yards. You can find me there, Voice of Reason 23. JR, you can find yourself at
also not JR Comics 42. Also not JR Comics 42. I will be sending up some other stuff too, guys. Just at overall, just everything's going on, man, in the world. It's been going a little crazy. Still just trying to shuffle around. So
yeah, guys, just be cool out there. Let's talk comics. Let's talk movies. Let's talk TV shows. I'd rather argue about who shot first, Han or Greedo, than all the other crap that's going on in the world, because I think we can get a lot more done in the nerd culture by talking about stuff like that. Who's better, Batman or Iron Man, or who's got more money in the bank than Tony Stark or Bruce Wayne? Dude, so much of the world's problems can be solved by just admitting we're all dorks. We're all nerds. We're all geeks. Admit it, own it, and embrace it, guys. It's the Green Lantern ring. It has all the power, our nerd culture power. So, guys, be safe out there. For those of you still in quarantine, I'm with you in solidarity. For those of you dealing with all the other stuff that's going on out there, JR and I've got your back. Like JR said, you got the awkward white dude walking around with a pink T-shirt. So, and we got the crazy Filipino over here. Just who cares? We don't, geeks don't see color. So, hey, guys, just be safe out there. Just know that to our friends, we love you. Be good and enjoy all of this cool videos. JR, you want to take us out? Anything else you got in closing?
Oh, that's right, guys. Just overall, just be safe out there, man. Granted that, you guys stand for. We are still in a pandemic. And so please don't let that, that number rise. So guys, be safe out there. Be cool. Read your comics, read your nerd stuff, man. And don't be afraid to be a geek.
There, I think it's the best way to wrap it up. See you guys next week. Enjoy.
Hey, guys.
It is the Untitled JR and Kevin podcast. We'll have the.
Can I say
oh yeah, go right ahead. I know what you're gonna say.
Oh yeah, can I say? What do you guys feel about PS Comics? I Love You, because we have some other stuff going on with I'm pretty sure Kevin can say that some other time, but then there's litigations going up. So PS Comics I Love You. I like that title.
But yeah. I think right now, with the way things are going on now, hey, where is the love? Right there with PS Comics. All right, guys, I'm Kevin Pello. He is JR. We'll see you next week with more of for right now, the Untitled JR and Kevin podcast.
Hey, guys.